Hello students, in the digital lecture series, I am Dr. Bhavna Mohite from Department of Microbiology, Bajaj College of Science, Varda, and the today's topic of this lecture is structure of carbohydrates. So, what are carbohydrates? So, these are being the very important biological macromolecules and its structure particularly will focus in today's lecture. So, before going to start with the lecture, I welcome you all for this lecture. So, carbohydrates, these are the most abundant biomolecule. Why most abundant? Because it is present in human, animal tissues, plant tissues, in microorganisms, in various body secretions as well as excretion and body fluids. It is chemically composed of aldehyde or ketones with having number of hydroxyl groups. It's having an empirical formula CH2ON, where this N is equal to 3 or more number. This term carbohydrate, it comes from the observation that if we heat the sugars, so you will get the carbon and water. So it is a hydrates of carbon, and so that's why this is called as carbohydrates. Now if we see the classification of carbohydrates, so carbohydrate basically get divided based upon what is the number of sugar residue which are present. So it may be monosaccharide having 1 sugar molecule, disaccharide having 2 sugar molecule, oligosaccharides having 2 to 10 sugar molecules, and polysaccharides having 10 or more sugar molecules. So this type of carbohydrate is based upon the size of the chain into monosaccharide, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. So particularly our today's lecture is focused on the structure of different types of polysaccharides. So first we start with the monosaccharides. So monosaccharides, as the name suggests, these are the simple type of carbohydrates where as it cannot be hydrolyzed further to its simpler form. It's having a general formula CH2ON, and here in this case it is generally having a single unit of aldehyde or ketone. So first we will see how the monosaccharides are get labeled or how it is get given the names. So there are 3 ways. First one, according to the active group which is present in the sugar. So if it is contain the aldehyde group, that is CHO, it's called aldose sugars, and if it is contain a ketone group, that is C double bond O, it's called as the ketose sugar. So it is according to the functional group present. Then the next basis is what is the number of carbon atoms which are present. So if the sugar contains 3 carbons, we can call it as a triose. If contains the 4 carbons, we call it as a tetrose. 5 carbons, pentose, and like that way. So you could see here, glyceraldehyde, it is a triose sugar. Erythrose, it is a tetrose sugar having 4 carbons. Ribose is a pentose sugar having 5 carbons. Glucose and fructose, these are the hexose sugars having the 6 carbon each. The third way of nomenclature, it is combining this 2 of the methods. So by combining the above 2 methods, it is called as like this, like 3 carbon aldotriose or 3 carbon ketotriose, 4 carbon aldotetrose or ketotetrose, 5 carbon aldopentose or ketopentose, and like this way. So you could see the example here with its structure. First one is of having a 3 carbons, that is glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone. Both of them, these are the having the triose nature, means having the 3 carbon compound. So it is the aldose sugar in case of glyceraldehyde, and this one is a dihydroxyacetone which is a ketose sugar. So while this is the example of having a 4 carbon monosaccharides, D-erythrose and D-erythrulose, one is a aldose sugar, other is the ketose sugar. This is a 5 carbon ribose and D-ribulose, ketose and this aldose and ketose sugars respectively, and the 6 carbon, which is the most important type of monosaccharides, that is glucose and fructose, having the keto and aldose nature. This is the ketohexose, fructose is the ketohexose, and while that of your glucose is aldohexose. So now among these various monosaccharides, we are particularly going to focus on glucose and fructose. So what are glucose and fructose? These are the 6 carbon monosaccharides. These are having the 5 hydroxyl groups attached to the carbon backbone. So the carbon, see this structure of glucose and fructose, it can be represented by many of the ways. So it's having major three of the ways. The first one, it is a straight chain or open chain formula. So you could see here that the carbons are being get arranged in a straight chain, and the hydrogen and hydroxyl groups are linked to that particular carbon backbone. So this is going to account for so many of the properties of glucose. Then the next way to show the structure, it is by showing its cyclic structure. So here in this case, most of the remainder or many of the chemical properties are actually been due to its cyclic structure. So here in this case, the cyclic structure, it can be represented by two of the way. One of the way is it's by the three of the ways actually. So the first one is feature projection formula, second one is a Haworth formula, and the third one is a Bode structure. So we will see the feature projection formula. See, in feature projection formula, here the aldehyde group, it reacts with the alcohol group on the same sugar. What is it? That aldehyde group reacts with the alcohol on the same sugar, and that is going to form the hemiacetyl ring. So here you could see that this is the alpha D glucopyranose. Here in this case, this aldehyde group, it's going to react with the alcohol group on the same sugar. So this is going to form the hemiacetyl ring. So this is the alpha D glucopyranose and this is the beta D glucopyranose. So you could see here that if it is a aldehyde plus alcohols, it is a hemiacetyl. If it is a ketone plus alcohol, it is hemiketals. So this is the feature projection formula. So the next one is a Haworth formula. So Haworth is a cyclic structure, and this is going to be represented in the form of pyranose or furanones. So pyranose, it is a 6-membered ring, and this furanones, it is a 5-membered ring. And this particularly going to resemble the pyran and furan. So here in this case, the difference is what with the Haworth formula and that of your the straight chain formula, that in that case, what are the hydroxyl and hydrogen groups are there, these are get written above and below. But here in this case, instead of, here in this case, it is shown above and below. But in case of open chain, it is going to show either right or left. Okay. So here in this case, you could see that here, rather than showing the right and left, it is being shown this up above and below. So this structure, it is been known by the Haworth formula. And this is going to represent, like for example, alpha D glucopyranose. So it is going to show the pyranose structure, that is 6-membered ring structure, and this alpha D fructopyranose, it is going to show the furan ring structure. So this is the Haworth formula. While in case of boat and chair form, so this is going to represent particularly the 3-dimensional structure of the sugar in the nature. And here it is being shown for the alpha D glucopyranose. So you could see the boat structure over here, that when if it is get divided through the axis, so that will give you the 3-dimensional configuration of the sugar in the nature. So this is the 3 of the ways to show the structure of the glucose. The same way is going to apply for its particularly ketose form of sugar, that is fructose. So see here, it has been the fructose structure in an open chain and Haworth form. So you could see this is the fructose, which is a ketohexose. It is in a straight chain structure. This has been here in this case, it is going to show its Haworth formula, that is alpha D fructopyranose, and here it is a beta D fructopyranose. So depending upon that where the hydroxyl group is present, above or below, so depending upon it is called as either alpha structure, either having the beta structure. Okay, so this is the fructose structure. So when we are going to study the monosaccharide particularly, there are some of the concepts that makes important, because based upon that many of the properties of monosaccharides like glucose and fructose has been decided. The first and most important thing for this, that it is going to have the presence of anomeric carbon. So this anomeric carbon, also known as asymmetric carbon or chiral carbon. So what is it? So it is that carbon atom which is attached to the 4 different groups or atoms. What does it mean? That to that carbon, what are the groups of attached? Those are of different types. And in this case, when there is a formation of ring structure, so that will going to create that anomeric carbon to be present at whether it is at carbon number 1 or whether it is at carbon number 2. So see here in this case, if it is a aldehyde sugar, C1 alpha D glucoparanodes. Okay, so if it is in its ring structure, if it is a aldose sugar, so here in this case it is being present at carbon number 1 like this. And if it is a fructose, which is a ketose sugar, so here it is being present at carbon number 2. So carbon number 1 and carbon number 2, here it is the anomeric carbon is present. Now apart from this, that when there is a presence of this anomeric carbon, or you can say that asymmetric or chiral carbon, so it's going to have one or more different types of properties, and that is due to the presence of this chiral carbon. So what are those properties that we will see now? So the first most important is optical activity. So what is optical activity here? It is the ability of the compound to rotate the plane polarized light either to the right or left direction. What is it? It is the ability to rotate the plane polarized light to the left or right direction. So if that compound rotating that light to the right, it is dextrorotatory, denoted by either small d and or plus sign. If it is rotating it towards the left, then it is called levorotatory, denoted by small l or minus sign. Okay, so this direction of rotation here, it is not having any resemblance with the stereochemistry. Remember this one. But this is designated as the rotation of plane polarized light either to the right or left direction, and that is denoted by small d and small l or plus or minus sign. Now the examples of these dextrorotatory sugars including glucose, galactose and starch, while the levorotatory sugars are fructose and invert sugar. Then the next properties of enantiomers. Those are the capital D and capital L isomer. Now see here, it is not a small d or small l. Okay, but here in this case, those are the enantiomers of each other. So what is it? So it is a pair of structure, or you can say that it is a mirror images of each other. So you could see here that if you see our hand in the mirror, so here it is, we just shown that it might be our right hand, but it is going to get resembled, or it's going to visualize in the mirror like a left. So like this way, these two of the pairs are designated as enantiomers of each other. Okay, so here in this case, based upon that pair of these two of the members, those are called as either the D and L form of the sugar of each other, that is enantiomers of each other. So when it is a capital D, see here, when it is a capital D, the hydroxyl group on the highest number asymmetric carbon is present, drawn to the right. Okay, capital D hydroxyl group to the asymmetric carbon is present to the right, like here in D glucose. See the hydroxyl group to this particular carbon, which is the highest number asymmetric carbon. So here it is to the right, while here in this case it is to be present at the left, and so that's why it is a L glucose. Okay, this is D glucose and this is L glucose. So it is depend upon what? That hydroxyl groups which are present on the highest numbered asymmetric carbon, whether it is present at the right or whether it is present at the left. Okay, so most of the time, majority of the sugars which are present in the humans, these are belonging to the D type of forms. So those are the D sugars. Then after seeing the enantiomers, we will see further the concept of isomers. So what are isomers? Those compounds having same molecular weight, same percentage of composition, but they are going to differ with its properties, some of the physical and chemical properties. So though they are having a same molecular weight, they are having a same percentage composition, but they get differs with the properties. So why is it so? So that we are going to explain here in the form of stereoisomers and the concept of phenomenon of stereoisomerism. So when the compounds having the same chemical formula, like the same molecular weight and percentage of compositions having the same chemical formula, but they are going to differ with the spatial configuration. So spatial configuration here in this sense of arrangement of atoms and groups which are been present towards the or around the asymmetric carbons. So it is having a different configuration, having the same chemical formula, but they are going to have the different configuration. Okay. So what may be the number of possible isomers are there of the compound? It depends on what? So it depends upon what is the number of asymmetric carbon which is present. So suppose it is having a n number of asymmetric carbons. So what will be the number of possible stereoisomers? So it is 2 raised to n. So like that way we know that in glucose it's going to have the 4 asymmetric carbons. So what are the possible stereoisomers for carbon there will be? So it is 2 raised to 4, that is 60. So glucose it can able to have the 60 isomers. Okay. So this is the concept of stereoisomers and stereoisomerism. Now epimers. Now what are these epimers? It is again a type of isomers having the same molecular weight or same chemical formula. But it is going to have the variations in configuration of hydroxyl and hydrogen atom on the carbon number, particularly 2, 3 and 4. Okay. So here the changes were at carbon number 2, 3 or 4. See the concept of D-glucose. I am taking the examples of its epimers. That D-glucose, it's having this open chain structure here. So see at the carbon number 2 and carbon number 4 here, 2 and 4. So the D-glucose having 2 of the epimers, the one which is get changed at carbon number 2, so it's making its D-mannose, and when there is a change at carbon number 4, so it is making the other epimer of glucose, and that is galactose. So D-mannose and D-galactose, these are the epimers of D-glucose at carbon number 2 and carbon number 4. So these are the epimers. So this is the concept of various properties, that is epimers, stereoisomers, or it is having the optical density having what may be capital D, capital D, capital L and small d, small l, that is levorotatory and dextrorotatory. So what are these various properties are there? It is due to the presence of asymmetric carbon. Along with this, as we all know this one, that it is having a glucose and fructose, these are the aldose and ketose sugar. So having the presence of aldehyde or ketone group. Chemically they are going to have the same type of molecular formula. Okay, so like C6H12O6. But here in this case they get differs with its structure in the form of either having the ketone group or either it is going to have the aldehyde group. So when there is a ketone group present in the position number 2, so that will be the anoramic carbon of fructose. If it is an aldehyde group, so it is at the position number 1 and that is the anoramic carbon of glucose. Okay, so D-glucose and D-fructose having the carbonyl group position, or we could say that where it has been get situated, whether it is carbon number 1 or carbon number 2, accordingly they may be the ketose or aldose type of sugars. So this is called ketose and aldose isomerism. So these are the various properties. Now apart from this, there is one of the important properties of monosaccharides particularly, or sugars, and those are like some of the sugars are called as reducing sugars and some are called non-reducing sugars. So what is it? If the oxygen on the anoramic carbon, where oxygen of anoramic carbon, that is carbonyl group, it is not attached to any other structure, then that sugar will be reducing sugar. What is it? That if the oxygen and on the anomeric carbon, that is carbonyl group of a sugar, it is not attached to any other structure, means it is free, so the sugar is a reducing sugar. So here in this case, we are going to consider only the oxygen which is present on the anomeric carbon. So that will going to determine whether that sugar is a reducing sugar or whether that sugar is a non-reducing sugar. Okay. So when the hydroxyl groups are on the molecules are not involved, so that is being considered as either reducing sugar or non-reducing. So how will you know that whether it is a reducing sugar or not? So that could be determined by having a reaction with some chemical reagents. For example, Benedict solutions or Fehling solutions and that will give you that it will reduce that particular reactive compound with that anaerobic carbon, and itself it is get oxidized. So there are various reducing sugars like maltose, lactose, glucose, and there is a non-reducing sugar, for example sucrose. Okay, so see here it is the beta D glucose having the position of carbonyl hydroxyl group, you could see above or below. So when there is a oxidation of this anaerobic carbon of glucose and other sugars like a maltose or lactose also, it is when done by this particular reagent, that is your Fehling solution. So that will going to cause this anaerobic carbon to get oxidized. Okay, so here in this case you could see that in the presence of cuprous residues, it is going to form the gluconate structure. It is get oxidized and going to form the gluconate structure. So that's why this is being called as the reducing sugar. So when we talk about the monosaccharides, now we have seen its structure, glucose and fructose. We are going to see what is its importance. So D-glucose particularly having the presence fruit juices in as a cane sugar or as a monomer unit of maltose and lactose. So we could say that this is the sugar of the body, and this is being carried out by the blood, and this is being particularly useful to have the formation of carbohydrates in tissues. Then fructose, it is been present in fruit juices, again it is in honey. This has been a hydrolyzed product of cane sugar, and this is been the one which is further given get changes to glucose in the liver, and so it could be used by the body itself. So this is the importance of glucose and fructose. Okay, so here we have seen regarding the two of the monosaccharide with its structure and its properties. Now we'll further move on with the disaccharides. So what are disaccharides? So disaccharides, it is having two of the monosaccharides units. These are get linked with each other with the glycosidic bond now. So now the concept of glycosidic bond first we will see, because two of the monosaccharide, they has to be linked together to make the disaccharide nature, and so that's why this is been first necessary to understand how the glycosidic bond is formed. So you could see here that two of the monosaccharides get linked with each other, that this is between the anaerobic carbon of one sugar and the hydroxyl group of other sugar. So here in this case, this hemiacetyl or hemiketal forms of monosaccharides, it can react with the alcohol to form the acetyl and ketal structure to form the glycosides. And this carbon and oxygen bond which is going to form, this is called as a glycosidic linkage. What is it? The bond is in between what? The bond is in between the carbon of one and hydroxyl group of the other sugar. Okay, so this is called as a glycosidic linkage. Now the glycosidic linkages has been named based upon whether what is the number of connected carbons, whether it is a carbon number 1, carbon number 4, carbon number 6, and the other is what is the position. It is the alpha position, whether it is the beta position, where these two of the sugar are involved for the bonding purpose. So see here, this is the structure of starch, which is one of the polysaccharides where more than 10 monosaccharide units are linked. So see here, in this case of starch where there is a chain having the alpha 1,4 linkage. So it is carbon number 4 and 1 is involved forming the alpha 1,4 linkage. It is when get branch, so the branching going to cause and formation of O glycosidic bond which is of alpha 1,6 linkages. It is alpha 1,4, it is alpha 1,6. Carbon number 1 and carbon number 4 are involved for the linkage formation. Here in this case, the next example is of lactose. So lactose, it is composed of galactose and glucose, and the glycosidic bond which is formed of, it is beta 1,4 linkages. So it is the beta 1,4 linkage. Now we will see the structure of different type of disaccharides. So for your syllabus particularly we will focus majorly on lactose, maltose and sucrose, which is been considered as a very important disaccharides. So first we start with the lactose. So lactose, it is been a disaccharide where these two of the sugars are there. And what are the two sugars here? So here it is the galactose and glucose. So there is a bond between these two sugar residues, and that is galactose and glucose. So where the bond is formed? So it is at the beta carbon position of galactose. It is at carbon number 1, and to that carbon number 4 of glucose, and that is as carbon number 4. So that's why it is beta 1,4 type of glycosidic linkages is formed. And here in this case, as the anaerobic carbon of glucose residues, it is not involved here in this glycosidic linkage. It is free. It is free. It is not involved, and so that's why this has been a type of reducing sugar. So what is the significance of lactose? Where it is present particularly? So this is going to appear like in milk. It is been present. So that's why it called as a milk sugar. Or it is present in the urine also in late pregnancy and having the presence in lactation. So this is lactose, which is a disaccharide having the beta 1,4 glycosidic linkages between the galactose and glucose sugar residues. Then the next type of sugar is maltose. Maltose is again an important disaccharides where there is a 2 glucose units and which are get linked by alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages. Here it is, you could see the hemiacetyl, and this one is a alcohol group. Okay, so there is a removal of water from this, and further it is going to cause these two to get linked with each other to forming the alpha 1,4 linkages, alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages. So see here it is carbon number 1, carbon number 4, and here in this case this is being called as a non-reducing end because it is not free. Okay, it has been in the chain, and here in this case this is a hemiacetyl group which is free, and so that's why this is the reducing end. Okay, so maltose, it has been a disaccharide having composed of glucose and glucose at alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages. Then the next type of disaccharide is sucrose. The important property of sucrose is what? This is the most abundant disaccharide, and this is the non-reducing sugar which is present in plant and not by the animals. Okay, so here it is composed of glucose and fructose, and the linkage is alpha 1 beta 2 linkage. Alpha 1 beta 2 linkage. It is aldose sugar. This is a ketose sugar, and here in this case it do not have the free anomeric carbon. This is to be here, that double-headed arrow, it is going to indicate that it is do not have the free anomeric carbon. So as this result of this free, do not have the presence of free aldehyde or ketone group, so this is been the non-reducing sugar. And when it is get hydrolyzed by this, so it will yield you glucose and fructose. And the enzyme is sucrase, you can call it as, or this is been called as invertase because it is a invert sugar. Okay. Then the next type of carbohydrates are the trisaccharides. So, but just before to that, you could see the physiological importance of this three of the sugars: sucrose, lactose, and maltose. Okay. So we'll further move on with the trisaccharide, and the example is raffinose. So this is a trisaccharide having alpha D glucose, beta D galactose, and beta D fructose. So alpha D glucose, beta D galactose, and beta D fructose going to form the structure that is called as raffinose, which is a trisaccharide present in the beans and peas also. Now we'll move on with the polysaccharides. So just in brief, poly means many, so number of monosaccharide unit, it yields on hydrolysis, it's more than 10. Either they may be homo or heteropolysaccharide. Homo for single type of monomer, and hetero means it is going to have the multiple types. So under this single type of monomer, the storage polymers are there or polysaccharides are there, glycogen and starch as an example, which is going to have the same repeating unit. It is not having a different one, it is same one but is repeated in chain or either in a branch, and structural one like a chitin and cellulose, which is again a type of carrying the single type of monomer, that is glucose. So the next one is hetero, where it is going to work particularly for the extracellular support having the different type of monomers. Now we will see the structure of this polysaccharide, starch and glycogen. So starch, it is present in plant, glycogen is present in the animals. Both are heavily hydrated and readily dissolved. You could see the structure here of starch and glycogen. Starch is being the having the structure. It is made up of amylose and amylopectin. So see here, it is a homopolymer of glucose having the alpha glucosidic chain. So that's what is called a glucosan or glucan. This is the most abundant. Major two components are there. Amylose 15 to 20%, which is a chain structure, and it is an, we can say, chain or non-branching structure, and amylopectin, which is a major part, that is about 80 to 85%, and that is going to have the presence of alpha 1,4 type of linkages in the chain and 1,6 at the branch. So you could see here it's a long unbranched. So this is alpha 1,4 linkage. Okay, here see this one, and in amylopectin it is having a branch structure. So you see this is the branch alpha 1,6. Okay, so this is the branch structure. One branch, it is having about 24 to 30 residues. So it is composed of amylose and amylopectin. Then in glycogen, the same structure is there, but it is more complicated, more highly branched than the amylopectin. So here the number of residues are 12 to 14 glucopyranose residues having alpha 1,4 glucosidic linkage, and the branching, it is at 1,6 alpha glycosidic linkage. Okay, so see here alpha 1,4, and this is at the branching alpha 1,6. So this is present as a storage of energy in liver as well as in muscle. So this is present in animals. Now the next one type of homopolysaccharide is cellulose. So cellulose is a fibrous stuff. It is going to have the composing the cell wall of plants, and this is going to have that do not have the type of alpha 1,4 type of linkages, but here it is having a beta 1,4 linkage. So it is a major difference. So the linkage is beta 1,4 having a repeating unit of glucose in a chain, and we do not have the breaking enzyme to cut down these linkages, that is cellulase enzyme, and so that's why we could not digest the cellulose. Okay, so this is a beta D glucopyranose, that is units get linked with beta 1,4 linkages to form the long straight chain structure, and that is going to form here the cellulose, which is present in the plants, or like in cotton it is having 100% cellulose. Okay, so this is the next important example of homopolysaccharide. Under heteropolysaccharide we have the other example, that is of hyaluronic acid. So now hyaluronic acid is a glucosaminoglykal. What does it mean? That it is a protein portion is removed and it is only having a repeating unit of polymer that is containing this disaccharide. So this is a gel-like heteropolysaccharide, and this is composed of alternating unit of having the glucuronic acid and N-acetyl glucosamine, and the linkage is of two types, beta 1,4 and beta 1,3 type of linkages. So see, here in this case it is beta 1,4 and that type of beta 1,4 and alpha 1,4 type of linkages. So it is about 100,000 monosaccharide unit could be bind with like this one, and this is a repeating disaccharide unit structure. This is particularly play a role in case of extracellular matrix of tendons or cartilage, or this is being present in skin matrix or connective tissue, or in case of joints as a lubricants. So it is a heteropolysaccharide example, hyaluronic acid. Okay, so this has been the summary of the today's class, that carbohydrates are there. They are having the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen atom, and this is being their classification based upon the length of the chain, monosaccharide, disaccharide, polysaccharide. So in case of monosaccharide, the important two are 6 carbon sugars. One is a aldoses, other is a ketoses, glucose and fructose. Then it is having disaccharides having a 2 simple sugars get linked with each other, the glycosidic linkages, and that is glucose, fructose and sucrose. And in case of polysaccharide, homo or heteropolysaccharide, depending upon the type of basic monosaccharide unit, same or different. And we have seen the example of the starch, then glycogen, cellulose as homopolysaccharide, and hyaluronic acid as the heteropolysaccharide. So I hope students that you might have get an idea that how the different structures are there of the carbohydrates. Okay, so we stop here for the today's lecture, and I am thankful to all of you for having this patient listening. Thank you, students.